Somewhere back in the back there was some spooky bar music. Hello, everybody. It's Saturday, September 11th. And yes, I think we will have a brief moment to recall this date in a moment when we get started here. But for those of you who are watching over there, we've got a bunch of people here in the Zoom room, and we are also streaming live to Facebook and YouTube. It is the Virtual Pipe Club weekly meeting. Today we have a special guest, Shane Ireland, who's been like, I joked around with him. You know how on SNL they have the hosts who've been here, 5 times and they get a special jacket. We're going to have to get him a special jacket because he's been a special guest several times. I am your host and sort of just background moderator, David Dorian Ross, founding member of the Virtual Pipe Club. But these guys, right, they are the fantastic Zoom room people. Say good morning, afternoon, good evening, Zoom room.
Hello.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Hey, good afternoon.
Afternoon, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Very groovy people. If you are watching over there, hey, Boris Yerke up in the far north is over there on YouTube today watching us. So like Yerke often does, he will switch. He'll bilocate. He'll come directly from YouTube into the Zoom room. And so I'm inviting everybody to do that if they want to as well. WKR Piper in Cincinnati is over there on Facebook watching us. Oh, no, he's on YouTube. All right. Well, we are going to, in just a moment, take our tour around the world to see what everybody's smoking and what they're smoking in today. But if you don't mind, fellas, could we maybe do just a moment of silence? 20 years ago today, we experienced something that the United States, I don't think, had ever experienced since Pearl Harbor. And I remember it very well because at that time, that year, I was actually working for Morgan Stanley, and I had been in the Twin Towers on that exact floor just 2 months prior, going through. And so I knew exactly what that would be like. And so let's take a moment, if you don't mind. Thank you, guys. We wish a happy hereafter for all those who died in that day and closure for all their families. That's about what I could say. On to more pleasant conversation. I'm going to turn it over to my buddy Oliver to take us around the world. And that's your cue. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, PDR. Yeah, today is a special day, not only for the US, it's a special day for the whole world. And thank you for the moment of silence. And it was crazy. So I remember that very much. And it was a tragedy. Anyways, let's start with our fun part. Please raise your virtual hand and let's see what we are all smoking today. Let me start with today. Looks like it's a mortar day. So I have my mortar. This is a ulcer shape, very big. It's this mortar is a little bit special because it calls B color. So it means it starts very golden and goes into black. So and the maker is Davorin from Croatia, and I would say he's also one of the best mortar pipe makers in the world. So if you want really a custom made pipe, give him a call, and he's so friendly, he's so nice, and he made a custom made pipe for me, and it's amazing. So in it, I have some Escudo. I can smoke Escudo the whole day. It's one of my favorite tobaccos. And and with that, I would like to give the virtual pipe to my friend Stephen Emis.
Thank you, Oliver. Well, today I've got my Nording pipe, and in it I have some Orlick Golden Slice, and that's about halfway gone. So then I have a 327 Ellie, and in that I've got some Old Dark Fired. And if that goes out, I've got my Bing with some more Orlick Golden Slice. And I will pass this to my friend Miguel.
Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. For this morning, I'm going to start with my Sabra Eltang Lobat with horn. In it, it's a McBaron Royal Twist. And on the second one, I'll smoke a Tom Eltang Bamboo Poker Rusticated with bamboo. And in it, it will be Sabinelli Brunello Flake. And with that, I will pass the virtual pipe club to our friend Ramachandran in India.
Hi, greetings to all. Today I'm smoking a creation of our friend Tim Heineck, which I got about 2 weeks ago. Beautiful smokes, lovely, a sort of a blowfish kind of a shape. And in it, I have HH ODF. And once I'm through with it, I'll have my Stanwell, in which I've got Old Oak Crans. And with that, I now pass on to our friend, Rayan. Rayan, it's up to you.
So say the name again, Ryan? Oh,
Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. So today I've got a 7LA 320, and I'm smoking a house blend from Strauss Tobacconists in Cincinnati, Ohio, called the Santaphil. So we'll pass it to Perry.
Hi, guys. This is my first time up here. I'm glad to be here. Today
Welcome.
I'm smoking some, let's see, Sam Gaywith's English Summer Flake and a Castello Collection 2K Billiard. And then I've got some KBV's Dark Fired Cherry and a Chris Asterio Liverpool for later.
Very nice.
And Oliver, I've got 2 of Dvorin's Mortas. They are beautiful pipes. And I will pass the virtual pipe to Bud in San Diego.
Thanks, Perry. Hello, everybody. I just finished a bowl of Prince Albert, and it's Peterson St. Patrick's Day pipe from this year. And I've got a club pipe, the Bones Club pipe, and has Mycroft in it. And that's what I'll be firing up here in a minute. And I'm going to pass the pipe over to, we'll jump across the, hit John in New York, in North Carolina.
Thanks, Bud, and greetings, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. Today, I'm smoking a little Country Squire product here, Cherokee, stamped with the name by the rubber stamp, just as we were told it was last week. I'm smoking this in a Salvinelli. So typical stuff. I'll probably switch off to my Flame Grain Ben Wade when I get this done. So with that, let me pass this off to virtual pipe off to Mike Rizzo.
Thanks, John. How is everybody doing today? Today I'm smoking my Ryan McCauley, what I call a Stackadian, a Stack Canadian, with what I call the Galaxy stem on there because it looks like the Milky Way. And in it, I'm smoking some HU Louisiana Broken. And then after that, no thanks to Shane Ireland, I have some Sillam's Counselor, which a buddy of mine sent me the day before you did your tasting notes. He sent me this as like a thank you. And then I saw your review before I even ordered it. And I went, all right. And so I ordered 10 tins, put 10 tins down, and I've been smoking this ever since. So this is an amazing blend. And that's going in my newly acquired pipe club, virtual pipe club from Randall. Thank you again for hooking me up with this.
Glad to help.
All is good. Let me see who, let's go to Randall. Let's go to you, buddy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good day. Hope you're all doing great. Today, I'm smoking the Reborn Classic from the Danish pipe shop, the Dan pipe. Neat little pipe, light as a feather, I tell you. It's really good. And in it, I have some Old Gowrie, Rat Race Old Gowrie. Nice, smooth, mild smoke. And with that, let's go to Jürgen.
Nice evening to everybody, because in Germany it's evening now, 8:15. And I'm smoking today because fall is coming, summer is over. I do another try on Latakia. So I smoked the Sancho Panza, which is one of the Gran Reserva line tobaccos from HU. Really nice one, I like it. Surprisingly, but I'm more a vapor guy as Mike, so that is not a common thing to me. Smoking Latakia, I try it every year, once or twice, and we see how that goes. Another second round, I will smoke in my and it has to be a Peterson when I smoke Latakia. And in the second round, I will smoke in my Nearop, the brown plug from the My Own Blend series. Nothing complicated. Nice stuff. You like it too, Mike.
I miss being able to get all those tobaccos from the Danish pipe shop.
It's hard to get, and it's very expensive.
It's torture because I used to get them all the time, and then they stopped shipping to the States, and then I can't.
We don't get it in Germany too, because they can't ship outside Denmark. We have talked about it, and the prices. Let's pass the pipe over to my good friend Dennis. What are you smoking today?
Yeah, sorry, I had to hit unmute. Wait a minute, am I still? No, I'm okay.
You're good. You're good.
You can hear me, right?
No, we hear you. Great.
Oh, well, great is another argument. Smoking a Missouri Meerschaum freehand here. Of course, everybody knows what these darn things are. But what's interesting is, I think Miguel started this talking about the Amphora Virginia that is out now. And so I had to fill out an order at Pipes and Cigars. So I figured I'd pick up some of this stuff. Got it jarred here now. And guys, I had never heard of Amphora Virginia, but because of all you guys talking about it on the web, it ain't bad. Thank you.
It's phenomenal.
Many thanks
really
and compliments. Good. Yeah. I mean, for the money, it is not a expensive tobacco, but for the price, not bad at all. So thank you guys. Let's see. Perry Spiropoulos, have you been on yet?
He was.
I have. He was? Okay. How about Paolo Facchetti?
I'm in Berlin. This is my first night online, and I'm smoking. And a really old pipe is an Art Castle from the 30s. This is a Prince that smokes really good. I bought second hand and restored it. And I smoke in this mixture called Mountain Village Evening Standard. Probably someone of you probably knows. Not me, it's my first time. I bought in this 5 shop in Berlin. And it's fantastic. My next smoking will be the new pipe that I bought. It's Kiko. So it's a Meereschaum from Africa, from Tanzania or Tanzanica. And Peterson and I use the same material for that series of pipe that it doesn't produce anymore, I suppose. And okay, I'm so happy to be here. And I want to pass to Dimitri.
Hello, everybody. Well, I already showed you my mortar pipe, and now I'm smoking one of my Nat Sherman pipes. It has very interesting mouthpiece. If you can see, instead of like slit, it has 2 small holes, double bore. That gives me clue to the age of the pipe. It's probably from 1970s, if not 1960s. So it's definitely not later than early 70s. And I'm smoking my Third Continent blend in it. And let me pass the pipe to Alvin.
Thank you, Dimitri. And hello, everyone. I am smoking my raffle pipe, my near raffle pipe that I was so fortunate to win last year. Well, whenever that raffle was. And I'm smoking some Joshi's Oriental Sunrise. It's an HU tobacco, and it's a Virginia Oriental, and it's just fantastic. A little burley and creek in it, but I mostly taste the Virginias and Orientals. And then I've got my second. I've got some Kramer's Father Dempsey loaded in my Briar Blues 25th anniversary Radici. And that'll be my second smoke. And let's see, let me pass it on to Kent.
There we go. Get the right buttons.
There you go.
Thank you. Good day and night to everyone around the world. Good to see all of you. For today, I have loaded up my straight Wellington pipe, and I have some pumpkin spice loaded in it. Good for a small bowl. And after that, which will take me probably the rest of the time here, is my Elga Alpine pipe with the wind cap and a horn stem. And it's a nice big bowl. I have in it some Galwith Hogarth Best Brown Flake #2, mild Lakeland, not like Ennerdale, but I love Ennerdale too. So I will pass it on to David Klein. It's yours, David.
Thank you very much. And greetings from South Florida again. Today I'm smoking my Bjarni pipe, which I've had for 20 years or so. And in it, I'm smoking Cornell and Diehl Awakened Elder, which is very good if you like Latakia. And before I go, I just want to show in the last 2 weeks, since we didn't have a meeting last week, I was stricken with pipe acquisition disorder again. And so I bought, this is a Bryson from 1940, which has been reconditioned with parts from the Kirsten pipe.
Beautiful.
Kirsten Pipe Company. I also bought this Sterling, which is from 1960s. I have a Falcon, which is also from the 1960s, I believe.
That's nice.
This one is called a Challenger, which is
Hella.
1960s, and it has this little valve in here where you can control the smoke.
The valve.
Can you please stop?
See, David's way worse than me, so I don't feel so bad.
Wow.
Thank God somebody's
Those
worse.
pipes are amazing. I've never, well, I've seen some of those pipes, but never in such a great condition.
Okay, well, here's the last one.
Wow.
Oh,
This
wow.
is called an Aristo Cobb, and it's got a corn cob insert inside this aluminum.
That's
Holy
wild.
moly.
I've never
That's
seen
amazing.
I have one of
That's
those
amazing.
actually in original box.
So anyway, this is what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks is I've been going on eBay and looking for
Okay.
crazy pipes. So
See what happens, David, when you don't have a club meeting for 1 week?
Yeah.
that's
Everything
right.
goes to hell.
That's right. I was having withdrawal and I had to compensate. So anyway, thank you very much. Good to see everybody. And let's go to Stanislav Potopkin.
Okay, guys. Good morning, day, evening, because we're global. I wasn't here a couple of weeks because I had an important decision. I moved to deeper suburbia from Moscow, 70 kilometers. I bought new flats, so thank you for congratulations.
Congratulations.
And today my wife left me for a couple of days so I can smoke everything I want. So I smoke Peterson as usually. I have a whole bunch of Petersons and Petersons only. Peterson pipe of the year 2007. And in this pretty gigs, I smoke another gem which is not produced anymore, the Nat Sherman 536. It's so-called Imperial English blend.
It's classic American English.
Yes.
So instead of Oriental, it has white burley.
Yeah, you're quite right, Dimitri. Yeah, that's true. So if it's over, I have another rare bird in my pocket. I have a Peterson Grand Reserva cigar, manufactured, if I'm correct, 15 years ago, and it was in Humidor in some pipe shop where it was discovered, and I took all of them which I had, all of them I had, and it was 3 very good quality tobacco sticks. So today is not only pipe day and cigar day as well. Okay,
cool.
and I passed my pipe to Steve Spent.
Thanks, Stanislav. Hello, everyone. Great to see you all as always.
Steve, let me
Today,
just
I'm
make a
also-
real quick comment to the people who are watching over there. It's becoming not only an international group here, but it looks like this is the day everybody pulls out their good stuff. This is the place to come. So if you've got some good stuff that you're like hoarding over there, go get it. Come and bring it in. Steve, that's all I had to say. Come back to you.
Hey, no problem. Also today, I'm smoking my Danish pipe shop, Dan Pipe. Love everything about it. Thanks to Mike Rizzo for making me aware of these pipes, and I'm more than certain that I'll be buying at least one more of these. In it, some Cornell and Deal Bayou Morning Flake. With that said, I will pass the pipe to, let's see who's left here. Uh-oh, I wasn't the last, was I? I'm looking for a hand and I am coming up empty.
My hands disappeared too. I don't know what happened to them all.
Justin's got his hand up, and
Justin.
Marco and Fadi.
All right, Justin, take it away.
Hello, everybody. Getting eaten alive by mosquitoes out here. I'm smoking some Solani Virginia Flake in my huge stone. I guess this is a little bat. I wasn't sure about this pipe when I bought it. I don't know if it's going to be my thing, but It actually smokes really nice. It smokes vapors really well. See, Shane's got his hand up. How about we go to him?
By the way, Justin, the beard's rocking, brother. It's
Yeah.
got,
And
yeah.
get yourself a thermocell if you're going to be in the woods. No mosquitoes.
I guess that's me then. Good to see everybody. And I'm also super pleased how many Danish pipes and Danish tobaccos on the call today. I just got back from Denmark the week before last. So I'm still smoking almost nothing but Danish stuff right now as well. This is my newest former, which I picked up just a couple weeks ago. Just a little tiny bent horn, weighs about 40 grams. I had been wanting one of these from him that wasn't massive for many years. So I was happy to find this one. I've got another former on deck just in case I have time. And this is a sandblasted acorn that he made as a twin for a friend of mine. Made a pair for us last year during the pandemic. And I am also, because I can only get them when I visit the shop in person, smoking my own blend number 42 from the Danish Pipe Shop. This is actually one that I picked up a couple years ago. So it's got maybe like 3-4 years of age on it. Really, really smoking well right now. Super sweet. It's kind of like, I heard a rumor that it's the same thing as Orlik Golden Sliced, except with dark fired Kentucky instead of Perique. So apparently there was a period where they had substituted those two components due to a Perique shortage. And it's still available under the My Own blend. Really different experience than the regular Orlik, and kind of a lot sweeter and a lot less grassy. And if I have time, as David Dorian pointed out, this is kind of where you pull out your good stuff. I have a tin of Orlik Brown Sliced that is the second tin that I've smoked through in about a month. I've been looking for this stuff for years. I've only ever tried samples from friends that had tins. And then recently I was able to get a couple for myself. So I've passed out a bunch of samples as well. And everybody pretty much agrees that, like, if this was still available and if this was the only tobacco I could get, no problem. I'd be happy smoking this all day, all night, every day.
Oh man, the 42 is great. I have a tin of that. That's amazing. But I've heard really good things about that too.
Oh yeah, the brown is crazy. I can't believe they don't make it anymore. And we've, like, many of the larger online retailers have gone to them and said, please just make this again. We'll pay up front for whatever you want us to pay up front. Maybe one of these days.
A little recommendation: the Brown Block is a remade of this.
Yes, I have smoked that, and it is also good.
There was a flake for the Danish Pipe Shop, exclusively made by Samuel Garriff, that should always, and also a remake of the Brown Slice.
Yeah, the Sam Gaywith Brown Sugar Flake, I think they used to call it. Now they call it BSF or whatever they have to, because of the regulations.
I have not opened it, but I'm looking forward to it. So,
I will say I've smoked all three.
Anyone can get this. This is quite similar. It's not the same. It's crumble cake, but taste-wise.
No, very good, very good. And so is the Brown Sugar Flake. But, cut makes a big difference. And the cut is just, it's like really nice, thin, perfect flakes. And it does make a difference for sure.
You don't get that from Sammy G flakes.
No. Oh, and I suppose I'm supposed to pass it off. Looks like Marco Buono.
Hello, I'm smoking my Eltang Dublin shape. I guess it's called. I think it's called Arne Jacobsen after the designer. And in it, I'm smoking my BS Flake.
Nice.
The king of the devil.
And it's a good one. The brown, Orlik Brown is better, but you can get it. So, yeah. Let me pass the pipe to Fadi.
I thought people in Denmark only smoked Orlik Golden Slice. Isn't that what you said a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, but Orlik Golden Slice you can get everywhere.
Oh yeah,
where you can buy cigarettes, you can buy Orlik Golden Slice.
Really convenient.
So that's probably the reason.
Marco, when you buy Orla Golden Slice there, are you getting the pouches or are you getting the tins?
The pouch normally, and that's more reason to that because I can get it tax-free on a boat where I go live, so where it's half price. But even normally pouch, yeah.
I mean, two of my favorite pipe makers only smoke Orlick. Adam Davidson and Tom Eltang. That's all they smoke. And
Yeah,
so, enough said.
But you know, it's
Most pipe
interesting.
makers.
Orla Golden is a fantastic, without question, tobacco. But Tom made the comment that one of the reasons why he started smoking exclusively Orlick, in addition to the fact that he just likes it more than anything, was that he has been smoking for so many years that some of the other tobaccos are just too irritating. And so Orlick is not only, delicious, but it's also mild enough. So
Easy
that
to smoke. Yeah.
But I think the brown, Orlick Brown is the best one they had. And then they discontinued. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
Huge
it's the same
mistake.
with Dunhill. We can get, I'm from Denmark, and we can't get the Dunhill Flake, but we can get Royal Yark. I don't know anybody who smoked that, but
I like that a lot.
But I maybe, yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes they discontinue some blends and
They just discontinued Dark Strong Kentucky.
Also that, yeah.
At least in the States. I don't know if they did over there, but or in Europe.
They 5 years ago or something. 3 maybe.
I think the only reason it was available in the States for so long after that is because they had a lot in the warehouse already, sitting in bond or whatever. Probably the same thing with the Dunhill blends in Denmark. They will go away eventually, I bet, but there's probably just a stock. Somebody had some, so a distributor.
Peter Heinrich still sells the Dark Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dark
that's true.
Strong is a very common house blend for many tobacco shops. So they still produce it, but they don't sell it in every country. You can't get it in Denmark. You can't get it in the US, but in Germany it's widely common. The Aus dem Grader series from HU it's a line selected by Hans Wiedemann. Is the Dark Strong Kentucky is the number 5, I think. So you can get it, but not everywhere. And we all know why. And discontinuing very great blends. It's also the Dunhill Flake. The Dunhill Flake is available here in Germany and the US. So I don't get it why you can buy it in Denmark.
And then conversely, I think the Dark Flake isn't available in the States, but it's available in Europe, I believe. So
also another topic.
Well, guys, you have to, help small businesses stay in business. So smugglers are small businessmen too.
That's right.
I'm sorry, guys, but Fadi is waiting to
yes, Fadi,
round your conversation.
No, I find it very interesting. In fact, I was listening to the discussion, so no worries. Okay, guys, I'm smoking a straight billiard but Choquin. It's a French pipe, but Choquin, a giant bowl. And I'm smoking in it Davidoff Scottish mixture. And afterwards, I will hit my Dunhill Bing shape, I think, but it's a Dunhill before it's Bing. And I will be smoking in it Escudo, some Escudo, a bowl of Escudo. That's it, guys. Thank you. I will pass it to Glenn, perhaps, or am I the last one?
Nope, I'll be the last one again.
Okay, Glenn.
No, you're not. But go ahead.
Last but not least.
Go ahead, Glenn. You are on mute, my friend.
As a tribute to today, I'm smoking a pipe that I acquired 11 years ago. It's a Kamoy amber grain apple billiard. Very nice pipe, very light color, nice grain. And in it, an 11-year-old Cornell and Deal Red Odessa, which has Red Virginia in place of whatever else was in there. Very tasty. And earlier we were talking about Moretta pipes. Here's a nice little nose warmer from Moretta. And I don't know what the symbol is, but he uses a little symbol to grade his pipes. This one is a three note or three, whatever that is. So
3D.
very nice pipe. Yeah.
Beautiful.
3D pipe. So, wow. So who's left?
So before we go forward, I will help you, Glenn. It's not an issue. I would like to welcome a new member in our club and also a new guy here in our Zoom room. And this guy's name is Kevin Levy. He is a VP of the Ivan Reese here in Chicago. And maybe he would like to tell us what he is smoking today and what kind of pipe. So welcome, Kevin.
Welcome.
Welcome, Kevin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm actually not smoking because I'm going to be walking around giving you a tour of the shop.
Okay.
Excellent.
So sorry to be the letdown. I'm holding my phone and not smoking the pipe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we're all stunned because I have you on the calendar for next week, but that's okay because
I thought it was this week.
no, this is going to be a fantastic show. We're gonna go everywhere. We're gonna go
do you want me
to.
I can hang up and come back next week if you want.
Don't hang up. Don't do that.
We get him two for the price of one.
That would be
Double feature.
log off. That would be log off, not hang up. But
as the kids say,
it's if this was at my house, by the way, and I was talking to my daughters and my wife, it would be without doubt my fault for somehow screwing it up. But we're just going to go forward. Let me talk a little bit about what I'm smoking, and then I want to introduce our first guest today.
Sounds like you live in the same house as I do.
Shane doesn't have kids yet, but someday, Shane, you'll know.
Just a lot of pipes. No kids, just a lot of pipes.
So I am smoking. This is actually showing up pretty well. This is my newest acquisition from Janos Kokinos in Greece, and see if I can show it a little bit closer. There we go.
Actually, I love the work of this guy.
He's really another one of those
really talented,
very creative carvers.
Yeah.
The blast on here is terrific, and that red sort of almost cherry kind of stain on the rim there is nice. I don't know if I can get back to him to get me a replacement stem or an extra stem, but I'd love to see one like the same redness on that. And then for my other pipe, I'm smoking one of the Kareem pipes. This is my new horn that I just really love from him. And in honor of today's guest and the company that he represents, I got all C&D stuff. I'm smoking the Beast, which is like one of my favorites.
Nice.
The Beast, I did a review of it a couple months ago, and I said it's somehow, it doesn't have a lot of Kia in it or anything, but somehow it has all the tastes that I like in that, coming out of that blend there. So I have that, and then I have this old jar that I don't even know how old it is. It's got to be at least 4 years old of C&D Dark Fired. So we'll see what that tastes like after that.
Probably pretty good.
They're both yummy. All right. Well, I want to introduce our first guest today, who is, as I said before, Shane. I think maybe you hadn't quite come on yet. You're like the SNL hosts who, at some point, get the smoking jacket and get into to the club room. Shane has been one of our guests for several times, and I always love to have you here. We're going to go old school today in the topic. But before I introduce that, Shane, I think out there in the pipe smoking land, there has to be one or two people who've been in a coma this last year. And for them, if you could just do a quick, Reader's Digest version of your background so that they know who you are.
Oh, okay. I'm Shane Ireland. I'm a vice president of Loud DC Enterprises and the director of SmokingPipes.com. So I got hired at the company as a copywriter about 8 years ago. I've done customer service. I took over the job of sourcing and purchasing all of the pipes for SmokingPipes.com a few years after that. And that's been the main part of my job for the last 6 years or so. I also manage the customer service team, the photographers, the copywriters, our brick and mortar store here in South Carolina, Low Country Pipe and Cigar, and somebody else I'm forgetting. Oh, the restoration guys, the guys that refurbish all of our estate pipes. So I spend about half of my time managing my team, about half of my time sourcing tobacco and pipes for the website. Under normal circumstances, pre-pandemic, that means that I'm usually on the road about 100 days of the year. I just got back from my first trip in nearly 2 years, going back to Denmark and seeing all those guys. And I didn't realize it until I got there that in the fall of 2019, I was there, and that was the last trip I had made to Europe. And I was actually the last visitor that any of them had before the pandemic, because typically there's the Danish Pipe Smoking Championship in the spring. And that brings a lot of people from, Russia, China, the US, to Denmark in March. And since that got canceled, because that was right when the pandemic hit, they hadn't had any other visitors until I came back now in the fall again. So it was really good to see everybody again and to catch up with all of them. And we haven't had any real international pipe shows in that time either. So it's been really weird. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I have nothing to report about the last 18 months. Business is great. I think the pipe industry is thriving, probably because many people had a lot more time on their hands working remotely and all that other stuff. We've been affected, of course, by the sort of supply issues that a lot of industries have been affected by. Everything's chugging along, and there's a lot of new cool stuff happening now that people are starting to get back into the office and back into the swing of things. There's a lot of projects coming up in the next couple months that we're really excited about. It's still a very interesting and fun time to be a pipe smoker and pipe collector. And we're doing our best to keep bringing new and interesting things, despite the challenges that the pandemic has sort of caused everybody in a lot of industries, really. That's what I do.
So I just have one question before we jump in, seeing as how you just mentioned that you're, still bringing lots of new and interesting things. I saw that you just released your 2021 Christmas blend. Is there still any left? Are we going to be
We Three Kings?
Yes.
I'm quite sure there is. Let me double check though. So that is also not an exclusive to Smoking Pipes. So a lot of retailers have that one, and it should be available on shelves for a good little while. But as far as Smoking Pipes is concerned, last I checked, we did still have some stock. It is still available.
Is it any different than the We Three Kings from the past years, or is it the same?
Oh, it's the same. Yeah. So
Okay,
we're
good.
basically at this point, we're bringing back one of the previous Christmas blends every other year. Between Corncob Pipe, We Three Kings, and there's one more that I'm Golden Days of Yore.
That's right.
Yeah, Golden Days of Yore.
Golden Days of Yore is my favorite aromatic.
Very good. Yeah, very good. I'm partial to Corncob Pipe and a button nose myself, but all three of those are aromatics for non-aromatic smokers, more or less. I mean, I think aromatic guys can get into them too, but they're really nice crossover blends with a lot of strength and tobacco flavor, which is usually what I'm missing when I'm smoking a traditional aromatic.
That's what I give.
So really good
people
stuff.
That don't smoke. When they want to smoke a pipe, I usually give them. Because I bought 2 8-ounce tubs of corncob pipe and a button nose. I usually give it to them, and they love it.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, really good introduction.
Hot chocolate.
And real quick too, since we're talking pipe tobaccos, there's a lot of cool stuff coming up Christmas wise and whatnot. But I'll leak a little information here because why not? There are 2 new blends, one by Cornell and Deal and one by Kyle Gillis and Jeremy Reeves, the Warped collaboration, that are going to be released just in time for spooky season.
Oh, that's going to be amazing.
It's both of them are going to be amazing. New blends. Well, one of them we've done before in a really, really tiny small batch, and we're bringing it back. And the other one is a completely new blend, and both of them are going to be pretty awesome.
As long as we're leaking some stuff, I'm going to leak that we're bringing Shane back for spooky season, and
Yes.
we'll have those to talk about, and then scary stories also.
Absolutely.
So,
Shane, I'm sorry. Can you please just make a little sneak peek, at least which family it will be?
Well, both of them are sort of hybrids. So the Cornell and Deal one, I'm going to hold off on any details, but it's something that I'm pretty sure, based on what everybody's been smoking today, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be interested in. And the Warped blend is really interesting because it is like I said, sort of a crossover mixture. There is a distinct flavoring, but the tobacco base is really rich and really full and like medium in strength and flavor. So obviously the idea for both of these is that not only like the artwork and the branding fit in well with, sort of Halloween season, but the blends as well. So if you guys like Golden Days of Yore, Corncob Pipe and a Button Nose, and We Three Kings, imagine analogs, but for spooky season.
Any chance to see them in Russia?
Honestly, that I am not sure about. I think it depends entirely on the distributor there. And sometimes the problem with this kind of stuff is, it can take a long time for it to get to a country where there's like a lot of requirements with tax stamps and everything else. So sometimes for these limited runs, unfortunately, they don't make it very far outside of North America because if they only make a few thousand tins and it's not enough to send in a larger order, across the pond, sometimes it means that they won't be available there. But honestly, I don't know about the distribution of at least the Cornell and Deal blend. But if you have any way of ordering directly from Smoking Pipes now that works for you, then you'll be able to do that as well.
No chance, Shane. It's prohibited by our local government. So and the customer stops the parcels. But however, I know that our distributors will make a huge amount of Cornell and Deal and GLPs in the end of the year. So I will hope. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I'll let the gentleman that works for us that works directly with the international distributors, I'll at least let him know that.
Thank you. I would be really grateful.
Yeah, I'm sure that it would be, especially for a small number, probably no issues selling it. So we'll see what we can do.
I wait for Black Locust now, so I hope it will come.
Yeah, Kyle and Jeremy.
This is why those of you who live in countries outside of the U.S. and I guess this even counts for Canada, you really need to make best friends with some of our U.S. members here, so that they can possibly send you a little bag of potpourri.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
EDR, you're turning the Han Solo.
Sometimes smuggle looks good.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are listening through the Facebook, I'm only kidding. This that was for comedic purposes only.
No one does that.
All right. Well, listen.
It's our duty as pipe smokers to make sure we supply our brothers overseas with rare and hard to get flowers from America.
Yeah.
That's exactly true. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Well, so
we in Europe do the same.
That's why we do it, so that we can get some of that HU and everything. All right. So Shane and I had several conversations about what we were going to talk about today. And you may remember a few weeks ago that I attempted twice, not once, but twice, to do some fancy magic trick. I even had the special magic camera set up and the whole thing. And yeah, both times it didn't work. So Shane and I were talking about maybe putting that off for another day. And then today we'd go way back. We'd go old school. We'd go back to basics, which is something that in every sport and every art that I've ever studied, the basics are never old, right? You always can learn something from the basics. So we talked about packing. We talked about lighting. Maybe we talked a little bit about pairing. But I thought, Shane, maybe we should even talk about selecting, right? So you sit down and you're about to, on a fall evening, and you look at your collection, like, how do you go about selecting a pipe and then packing it?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, so much of that is just like on a whim. I'm sure I'm not alone in that you just kind of like let, go to your pipe rack or whatever it is, however you store your stuff, and kind of let your heart guide you, whatever looks good, whatever you haven't smoked in a while. One thing that I find, probably like many of you, having a larger collection of pipes. And when I say larger, I mean more than 10 or 12, right? If you've got 30, 40, 50, some with 100, some with 200 pipes, like how do you make good use of all of them? And I've been conscious of that. Like I try to keep my collection to like a reasonable amount, I would say. My wife would disagree. But even with dozens of pipes in the collection, there's periods where I won't touch a certain pipe that I love and I know to smoke well for like months at a time. Because usually when I pull out a pipe or when I get a new pipe, that's kind of what you're like, it's like the latest flavor or whatever. You kind of get obsessed with one or two pipes in the rotation for a period of time, smoke them really heavily, and then maybe give them a cleaning and put them away for a while and let them rest. And that's worked for me pretty well. So I have a rotation of about 6 pipes always. And I've said this before, that I consider like sort of like, the stuff that's hanging out in my briefcase for a week or two at a time. And those are the ones that I'm rotating through. And usually because I smoke a lot of the same types of tobaccos, I might have one English pipe in the rotation for a handful of months, just because it's not something that I smoke that often. The rest of them is like Virginia and Virginia Perique pipes mostly, but I keep them in the bag in my briefcase for a while. And once every month, I might take out 2 or 3 of them that I've been smoking a lot, put those away, let them rest, and sub out something else. So I tend to personally, like right now, like I said, I just got back from Denmark. I'm just reaching for all my Danish pipes because I just saw all those guys and I was just hanging out in their workshops. So it's really easy to have top of mind, like, oh, that one L-Tang that I haven't smoked in a while, I'm going to pull that out and put a couple bowls through it. And then there's, the carvers that we all have, a proclivity towards certain brands and certain makers that you end up just kind of like getting on a kick and like, that's all you want to smoke. So for me, it kind of comes down to more or less the tobacco. And I've for many years been one of those people that has like 50 jars open at a time of all kinds of different stuff. I'm really guilty of that, and I'm guilty of not being the best about labeling them. So I have a lot of mystery jars too. And it's like, oh, that's probably 10 years old. Something with Perique. All right, cool. But right now I'm trying to be a little bit better about that and like smoke through a whole tin. So my last 3 tins that I've completed in, maybe the last 5 weeks or so, was another tin of the Orlik Brown. Smoked that all day, every day until it was gone, and shared a little bit too, of course. And then I just finished, because I only took 1 tin with me to Denmark, a 2014 Astley's 44 Dark Virginia, which is honestly, a lot of people like it and it's like always sold out. So saying that it's underrated or a sleeper hit may not be entirely accurate, but you don't hear a ton about it. And I think the people that smoke it have smoked it for a long time and have enjoyed it. But man, that is one of the best aged experiences I've ever had with a tobacco. I think because it's so no nonsense that by the time it gets about 10 years on it, the sweetness is unbelievable. It's like smoking candy. And of course, there's no flavoring there. No added sugar, really. It's just a straightforward Virginia plug, cut cross. So it's like a square cut. So I smoked through that whole thing lightning quick, because killing 50 grams in a week for me is pretty fast. even smoking like 2-3 bowls a day. I'm smoking a lot of smaller pipes. So yeah, I usually just pick a tobacco, and then I pick a handful of pipes that I think are going to work well with that tobacco based on previous experience. So for me, that's what it's about, a rotation of pipes I also like to try to keep enough stuff on hand where I can have like a 30-minute smoke, hour-long smoke, maybe an hour and a half. And that's another thing too, like time constraint is another thing for me that informs a lot of those decisions.
Shane, real quick, speaking of Vasley's number 44, I swear that it's almost the same as the Wessex Dark Flake, the campaign. It's got
really,
it's like, to me, they're like the same, almost the same blend. This is like from 2013, and
yeah,
it tastes very similar. I'm almost like convinced it's like the same.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Astley's 109?
109, that's right. 109.
Yes, yes. So
right.
109 and Campaign Brigade Dark Flake are very similar. I would say there's a very good chance that the base of flake is the same and they have different toppings.
Okay. Yeah, super similar.
Super similar. But the Dark Flake, for me, the Campaign Dark Flake, that has a super like pronounced molasses thing going on. And the Astley's 109 is a little less rich and thick and a little lighter and a little sweeter, like confectionery kind of sweet.
Okay.
It almost has like fresh baked cookies kind of an aroma, and the Dark Flake is like straight up molasses. But I think the base tobaccos it's possible they're almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Shane, I have a couple of questions for you. First one, I have heard from some of the other people at Smoking Pipes that you have so many different rotation groups that if you go away for a day trip on the road, you're taking a whole like 6 or 7 pipes with you. So how
me?
how many like rotation have you created for yourself?
Oh God. I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's always a chance that I've got 1 or 2 formers in my bag, 1 or 2 J Allens in my bag, Cornelius Mann's L Tang, and a lot of like Petersons, Rops, a couple of Dunhills, like a lot of stuff that I've had for a long time too. So I don't know. I mean, I usually think pretty critically about what I'm taking with me when I'm traveling for a long time or when I'm going internationally, because it's also nice to take some of those pipes back to the workshops that they came from. You know what I mean? That's a lot of fun. And it's always nice to like let those guys check in on stuff that they made years ago or whatever. So it kind of depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing. But I will say that I at least have 2 pipes on me, even just for a day trip, at least. Usually it's more than that, but I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared, I suppose. And as far as like how many different rotations, I don't know, because I also don't know how many pipes I have at this point. I stopped keeping track of it a long time ago because it's easier that way. So I'm really not sure.
So you're not like
you're just
Adam,
investing in your kids' college fund.
You're not like Adam,
Yeah,
smoke
sure.
like 1 Lorraine and that's it.
Oh yeah.
Like
I've known
all day,
Adam
every day.
for like 12 years, and I really think I've only ever seen him smoke 3 pipes. And one of them is like cracked in half, and he still smoked it for a long time. It was something he made in like 2008. One of them is the Lorraine, which I think was the first one that he ever made. And that's the pipe that he mostly smokes. And then he has another pipe that used to belong to a friend of ours that passed away that he got back. And I've seen him smoke that a handful of times too. But yeah, no, Adam is not one of those guys that has a lot of pipes laying around.
When he made me like my Lorraines, he was like, I literally smoke this every day at work. He's like, so I was like, what do you think? I wanted to get his take on how often does he let a pipe rest? And he's like, I don't.
I'll tell you his system is that he smokes that same pipe 4 or 5 times a day, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, usually he just leaves it at the office, and that's the rest. Yeah. That's the rest period he gives it.
I love it.
Jane, the
It's
other
so good.
the other
Pipe
question,
makers they're just different, man.
the other question came from one of the guys over there who are watching on the live stream. So you just mentioned that you just been back to Denmark, and so you've got all your Danish pipes on your mind. Do you have any with you, like close by, that you can show us? Do a little show and tell about your Danish pipes?
Sure. Well, actually, I also just recently moved, so all of my stuff is like everywhere. The pipes that I have right now that I've been smoking since I got back, the one that I showed you, obviously, this little former horn, my little former acorn here too, which it's kind of hard to tell because my lighting in here is poor, but the blast is incredible. I also have, the signature rusticated apple that he makes that a lot of people are familiar with. I have one of those for sure, but I also have two versions of the same exact shape in smooth finishes, a dark one and a light one. So this is one of my darker ones, but the same exact proportions as the rusticated version of the apple that he made famous.
Beautiful.
I have, let's see, what else is close by? Oh, I picked up this in Denmark, and we're going to be releasing them in the US probably by the end of the month. I don't know if there's any Near Up fans out there, but this will be the third year in a row that they've done the Harvest Moon series, which I think is super cool. And this is this year's Harvest Moon. Wow. So it's got the sort of moon rock texture bronze ring there.
Look at that. That's
Beautiful
tiny
different
in Europe too. It's
a couple of different. Oh no, the grain is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's great. Good size too. This is a perfect English pipe for me. Picked that one up when I was there. And I have something else kind of funny. This isn't new, but I had just seen Paul Winslow again because I always see him when I'm in Copenhagen. The first time that I visited him, maybe it was the second time, I can't recall. He was like demonstrating to me basically how he does things. And not many people know, but, first of all, I'll start by saying that, a copy phraser or any of the like systems like that, the old French machinery where they could produce the same shape a handful of times, that still takes a ton of work when you're done. So I don't like to say that copy phrasing is like a nasty thing or a negative thing, because it's basically just a way to streamline production. It still requires a ton of handwork. But Winslow pipes, even the less expensive Crown series, every single one of them is hand shaped by Paul. So even like the Vikings that are like $90, $100, every single one of them was shaped by hand by Winslow himself. And then he has a couple of guys that help him finish and stain and cut the stems and all that stuff. So when I was there, he showed me basically his entire process of shaping something by hand. And I ended up with this, which is an unfinished Winslow. It's like his logo pipe, like the old style, Preben Holm kind of freehand. And it's got his signature on there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't smoke this one, but I usually have it hanging out on like my bookshelf or whatever. And we just moved, and I just found it like the other day and sent him a picture of it. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, a ton of my other pipes are like in boxes right now from moving. So I've just been smoking like 5 or 6, like I said, for the past 2 months without really resting them very much.
That's amazing that he shapes every pipe. I never knew that. That's crazy.
Oh my God, yeah. That's the thing too. People don't realize, man, and we talk about this a lot when it comes to like artisans versus factories or whatever. But the Danish guys, really, really interesting because most of the older ones, they either started working in a shop where they were doing repairs all day. So, they could be doing like 100 repairs in a day. Tom Elting worked for Pipe Dan for a long time. Former worked for Sewer for Paul Rasmussen, and then for W.O. Larson. A lot of those guys did that. And Winslow, he worked for Preben Holm. And that was in the heyday when they were making thousands and thousands of pipes for the American market, like in the 60s. So somebody like that, there's a lot of really talented artisans out there today that have made a couple hundred pipes in their career. But somebody like Paul Winslow, he's made a couple thousand in the last, decade. And before that, it was even more because his production is lower than Preben Holm's production was. So it's crazy to think that somebody like Former, somebody like Paul, the Bang Boys, Tom, those guys have made an astounding number of pipes in their 40, 60, 50-year careers. And that's the thing. We talk a lot about factory versus artisan, but the cool thing about working in the shop that had a high output is that you gain a lot of experience. And some of the guys that have never really had that, you can kind of tell because, for better or for worse, like they're just not used to having to make 400 pipes in a week to meet a deadline for an order. You know what I mean? There's a lot of beautiful stuff out there, but man, don't sleep on the guys that used to work in the factories. And the factories now, there's people at Peterson that have worked there their whole lives. You know what I mean?
There's a reason why you see so many L-tangs on site, new on site every week, because he's just pumping them out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, that's after, people don't realize that that's after decades and decades of perfecting the craft that he's able to do that. And a lot of it comes down to like just being really clever about production and machinery and custom making your own tools and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's why the Danes are just beasts, because those guys have been living and breathing this every second of every day for like 50 years. I mean, it's remarkable. It's remarkable how much knowledge is in just a handful of dudes at this point.
Yeah, I have found a video with Paul Winslow from a German distributor. You visit him, and he showed how to cut a briar block and shape it. Yeah. And it was pure magic. With a few things, you can't look how fast it goes, and there was the pipe.
Yeah, and it's funny too. I've seen him do that before too, where he'll also tell you that like if somebody asks him for the demonstration, then he does it slowly. You know what I mean? So when you see how quick he's able to do it slowly, you can imagine the practice, you know, and the muscle memory.
Shane, you reminded the Peterson, and being a huge fan of Peterson pipes, Peterson workhorses, I'm just obliged to thank you all guys to keep the Peterson alive.
Oh, it's really our pleasure. I mean, Peterson is one of the handful of oldest, I think it actually technically is the oldest operating pipe factory in the world at this point. But when you're talking about those old brands, Savinelli, Peterson, Dunhill, you know, the French brands, Chacombe, which, you know, that factory produced a lot of different pipes for a lot of different people. It's part of the heritage of this craft and this hobby. I mean, they were around from nearly the beginning of the briar pipe production. And it's just so important that that doesn't fade away and that somebody keeps that tradition alive, even if we're making way fewer pipes than they used to 100 years ago. And like I said, in a lot of ways, you know, I've preached this before. There's the common misconception, in my opinion, that pipes made 100 years ago were better than they are today. And that's just not true. It's just not true. Consumers are way more educated now, and the internet has done a lot to help us, you know, grow our knowledge base and learn a lot about this hobby. But back in the day, people walked into a shop and they grabbed whatever pipe they thought looked good to match their face or their style, and they smoked it. They didn't look at the airway. They didn't look at the drilling. They didn't worry about whether or not the briar was well cured. They had faith in the brand and they had faith in the designs, and they just picked whatever they wanted. Now, back in the day too, there was a lot more people fighting for a smaller group of like good quality briar that was cured well and like harvested responsibly. And they also had to crank out, in some cases, tens of thousands of pipes a day at these factories. So what do you think is a better quality pipe? Like one that was made in literally a split second, or one that they took a week to produce from shaping to finishing? Technology has gotten better and production has shrank. And that has really allowed for quality to be much better across the board, honestly. The difference is, if there is a Peterson pipe now where you see the stem is wrong, or it's bent weirdly, or there's a finish issue, well, now everybody on the internet can say, look at this Peterson I have that has a problem. Now, of course, we stand by that and we'll fix it, but you're still talking about, as a percentage of the total production from Peterson, Dunhill, Savinelli, any of these factories, the problematic pipes are very few and far between. And back in the day, like I said, I guarantee you they were cutting more corners and nobody noticed, or you couldn't share instantly with a lot of people from around the world when you did notice.
So we've been doing really well. I was going to make a break so that you guys could ask questions of Shane, but let's keep that going. And also I want to invite the people over there watching on YouTube and Facebook. If you've got questions for Shane, type them into the chat. I'm watching and I will pass them along to him. Here in the Zoom room, you guys, you're all such gentlemen. You really are. But if you've got other questions for Shane, bring them out. Let's talk about them. And you know, just before we go on to talking about packing.
Well, I have one, and I know it's probably been discussed over at Smoking Pipes at some point, and there's probably deeming regulations. But a lot of us in this group are huge fans of HU tobacco, and obviously it's not available in the States. And I don't know if that's something that would ever be attainable in the future. I'm sure if it was on site, they'd be sold out constantly and people would go crazy forever and ever and ever. So is there ever a possibility in the future? Maybe.
I'll say never, you know what I mean? Because that's the kind of thing where if I was presented with any kind of an in to be able to make that happen, and it's not just a matter of like us and them connecting and working it out, obviously. It'd be easy enough to say, hey, we'd love to buy your tobaccos. Here's some money, ship them here, and we're done. That's the easy part. I would love to see it happen, and I'm sure we would have success with them mutually. But really, it's the regulatory environment that is maybe not going to allow that. We don't know what the regulatory environment will look like in a couple years either. It is possible, and I am still somewhat hopeful that the FDA will walk back some of their absurd deemings and rulings because they have increasingly, sort of shown that they understand a little bit better now why some of the decisions they made were like sort of arbitrary and kind of crazy. So it is possible that those regulations will ease up on the premium tobacco market, and a lot of people are working towards that. And that could change things. And if it did, then it would be Wild West again. And we'd be, having a lot of stuff imported and exported in a lot of places. But right now, the problem is that they were never sold in the US before the predicate date. And I'm sure at this point, everybody knows that like there are ways to still get new blends to market. But they do sort of require a lot of work, and in some cases like proof of sale before the predicate date or equivalency to another blend that is very similar, and like that's a little bit of a gray area for sure. But
with the roll twist where it's the same,
exactly
same blend, just
exactly
differently,
exactly. So there are ways that stuff like that can happen, but like I said, unfortunately, the HU tobaccos are tobaccos that were never distributed here. Never sold here. And to be completely honest, I'm not sure how much interest they have in exporting out of Germany either, because I mean, technically they could be exporting to other European countries and stuff. And I don't think that they do. So it may just be something they're not interested in.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Hey, Shane,
Shane,
Shane, I've got sorry.
Yeah, go on. I can
Hi,
wait.
Shane. I just got a quick question about Tom Elton pipes.
Yeah.
Because I watched your video that you've been in his workshop maybe a dozen of times. You own one of these, and basically this is 26 gram with 116 shorter.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a lighter. Now, I got this from Tom Elton. I got it from the Danish pipe shop. This guy is almost like a magician, because this one is 14 grams and this one is longer than this. Yes. I just don't understand how he managed to do it, because this one right here, it's a pencil shank, but there is a reinforced kind of piece of metal inside. So I posted it one time that it's almost like mathematically impossible that this one is lighter than this one. And that is the reason why I love Tom Elton pipe. It's just the way he does things. It's just unbelievable. The way, I know you said about him being a machine when it comes to making pipe. It's just, that's one thing I love about it. It's just the
absolutely.
way he does things. He doesn't stop. I mean, this one has become really, really famous. And then all of a sudden he decided to actually create a pencil shank that is lighter than the poker. It's pretty amazing the way he does things.
Oh, absolutely. And those pencil shanks are awesome. We have some coming for smoking pipes. Obviously, he's had them for sale at the Danish pipe shop for a little bit now, a couple months. But really, bamboo is very light and very durable. And that batch of bamboo in particular was really special, old Japanese bamboo. And he had it for a while. What he told me is that he had it for a while before he really figured out how he wanted to use it and how it could make sense. So he had to have like a special size of that. I'm pretty sure it's stainless steel, because on the poker he usually uses like a nylon, or a carbon fiber. I'm sorry, carbon fiber tenon. And of course he used stainless steel back in the day for the bamboo too, but he switched to carbon fiber because it was actually a little bit lighter weight. But he has a special diameter stainless steel for those little pencil shank bamboos, so they're super strong. I mean, like a lot of other bamboo pipes, you can probably snap the tenon or snap the bowl off before you could actually break the bamboo in the middle. But yeah, he just waited for a long time, and then it wasn't until he got some briar blocks, super old, super dry, so really hard and really lightweight briar that he uses specifically for the pencil shank series. So they are delicate and they are small, but you can still smoke them and be pretty safe as long as you're not overdoing it. But yeah, it's like designing stuff from the inside out and finding ways to use briar and bamboo that other pipe makers would probably, let's be honest here, probably be too scared to use.
My apology, Jürgen.
Yeah, in most cases, weight of the pipe defined by the density of briar. So the older briar, how briar was harvested, how it was processed, and how long it aged. So that defines, that contributes to the density of the briar and in the end to the weight of the pipe.
Yeah. I just interrupt real quick. I just got my shipment of 3 Kings.
Nice.
Just came in the mail.
Great.
Good timing.
Yeah. To come back on the HU theme, I'm quite often in good contact with Hans Wiedemann, and I can tell something about the distribution outside of the EU. The way he does it is he has some dealers who ship outside the EU, which is in that case Pfeifendepot in Hamburg. And the main problem is HU is a one-man company. It's just Hans Wiedemann. So and I agree with you. It would never happen that he finds a distributor like you because of the regulations and the costs that come with that. So,
and the limited production. Also.
The production is not a problem. It's produced by 2 manufacturers, Kohlhase in Kopp and DTM. Yeah. So when demand gets up, that would not be a problem. But to get a new blend on the American market, the problem.
But the thing is, if we were bringing to America the HU tobaccos, the amount that we'd have to bring in to even kind of satisfy the market would be a lot. And production for him is probably on the limited side now. So up and down a little bit isn't a problem. Yeah. But there's a reason why we can never see like a surplus of Rattrays, a surplus of McConnell, a surplus of, because those are all made by Kohlhase and Kopp as well. So it's not just a matter of being able to produce more of one brand. It's a matter of being able to produce more of like 20 brands.
Absolutely. And that's also a good point. Because most of the blends are small batches. So talking about 100 or 150 kilogram per batch, and that is not much. And there are a few companies who can make that. STG makes it for the My Own Blend series. Kohlhase and DTM makes it, and no one else.
Well, just to give you guys a little bit of an example there too, like Cornell and Diehl is a really like a pretty medium to small size tobacco producer compared to McBaron and Orlik and Kohlhase and Kopp and even Dan Tobacco. And last year, because demand was spiking so high, we actually were able to increase the production at Cornell and Diehl by like 35%. And it still wasn't enough to catch up with demand, like not even close. And that's the problem that almost everybody's having is like, you grow your business by nearly 40%. It can break your business, and that's not just us in the sort of like smaller, artisanal production. But these big factories too, they can scale, but they're already producing a lot for different countries that none of us have ever even heard of, these brands. I've seen them in person. It's remarkable how much size they have now, but when you get the demand increasing like it is, because I think pipe smoking in general has been in a renaissance for the last like 10 years, it's nearly impossible to keep up. And you have to make some decisions at that point about what are we going to keep making? What can we not make? Maybe we just wait a really long time before we circle back to this blend or that blend. And yeah, it's a big problem, especially when there's not a ton of different pipe tobacco manufacturers in the world. You kind of see the knock-on effects of production being an issue through at different points in the supply chain and in different markets. And yeah, it can be a mess for sure.
Shane, I have a couple of questions that come in over the live stream. Mike, I'll get back to you in a second, brother. I apologize for that. But I would be remiss if I didn't pass along some of these other questions. First one is you have a fan of All Pipes Considered, and wants to know if it's coming back because he would love to see more collections.
Yes. All Pipes Considered is coming back. You'll probably notice that during the pandemic, we did a lot more mystery tobacco reviews and like tasting notes where we were filming remotely, like from our kitchens and our living rooms and whatever. And we actually like that format for the mystery tobacco reviews where we don't necessarily all have to cram into the same tiny studio. So a lot of the reason why the All Pipes Considered had been sort of put on hold was like pandemic related and safety related. We didn't want to like put a bunch of people in the same room. A lot of us were working different schedules. We weren't having visitors or guests to the office for nearly 18 months. So there's been a couple of those since I would say June. We've done a few of them. And we're going to be spinning that back up for sure. Just in general, a lot more blog content and a lot more video content.
Awesome. I love those too. I always try to get in there. I've
missed them. They've been awesome.
Mm-hmm. One more question from the live stream group. If you've got any insight at all about Esoterica restock sometime in 2021.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen again before the end of the year. Usually there's like 2, maybe 3 shipments a year. And we had one earlier in the year. I can't remember exactly when it was because time doesn't mean anything right now. And all these dates run together since 2019. But I am confident that you will see at least one more release before the end of the year. I don't have an ETA now, and I was just talking to the distributor a couple of days ago.
Mike, that was the one question I had. So a lot of the most popular Orlik, Escudo, Dunhill blends, they never seem to ever be out of stock. They're always available. But then you have other blends that are, just as popular that are just never available. I mean, and I would guess that some of them are manufactured in the same places. Mm-hmm. Is there any particular reason why that happens?
Yeah. So basically, this is true of almost all production facilities. I would say probably in other industries as well. But if you're talking about 2 examples, Cornell and Deal and Orlik, just a really big producer and kind of a smaller artisan producer. You rarely see something like Autumn Evening by Cornell and Deal out of stock. And you will see it occasionally, but it's usually not long before it's back in stock. And that's because that's one of those blends that they kind of always make. There's always some Autumn Evening in production because it is one of the most popular products that they make. Whereas a lot of the mid-tier stuff, it might be a couple months between batches or whatever. And of course you try to project and you try to figure out how much you need for a certain time period. There's a bunch of math that goes into it, blah, blah, blah. But same thing with Orlik. Now at the Orlik factory, I'm telling you right now, they never stop making Orlik Golden Sliced. They just don't stop. And I've seen the room where they keep the cakes under pressure before they cut them and slice them. And you're talking about 50-foot ceilings in this room and just an entire rack of wire racks with bricks stacked up. And you can see the dates written on the side. It's crazy. So nearly every day they're putting new new leaf in the press and pressing it. And they're taking old bricks and slicing it and tinning it nearly every day. And that's just because it's ubiquitous in almost every market for pipe tobacco. So it's their bread and butter and they never stop making it. And some of the other stuff might only be sold in Germany and the US, or maybe only in China, or maybe only in the Middle East. So that's just kind of how it works production wise. Your top performers is what eats up a lot of your resources. And the good thing there is that, we go out of stock of Orlik and it's for 5 days, but that's why that happens.
Good evening, Shane. This is Ramachandran from India. Since
good evening.
You represent Peterson's, I wish to bring to your attention, I've got about 20-25 Peterson pipes, along with Savinelli and few others. And Peterson's have always been one of my favorite pipes to smoke with. But Excellent. Of late, I've been, seeing the comments in many of the Facebook groups that the quality of Peterson pipes is not what it used to be about, say, 10 or 20 years ago. It's coming down. There are production issues. There are issues pertaining to the smokability. And many of the old timers, they've all been complaining on this. Though fortunately, I have never had any issue on this. But I thought whether you people are privy of this thing, and are you people taking any efforts to set it right?
You know, here's the thing. Like I said, I personally am not responsible for Peterson. It's just not the division that I'm in charge of or anything. We work very closely with them. Peterson is one of the top selling pipe brands on smoking pipes. I've been to the factory many times. I've been to the factory many times before we owned it. You know, I'll give my honest answer here, and it is going to be slightly controversial. So forgive me for that, because it does seem like I'm biased, and I am a little bit, of course. But the truth is that whenever anything changes, people always perceive it to be bad. It's just human nature. Like anytime somebody says, oh, this company was sold to somebody, or these people took over and blah, blah, blah. It is always met with a certain group of people who sort of just convince themselves in some cases that it's negative and that they are perceiving, you know, a decline in quality. Now, like I said, some of that may be true because everything happened. You know, everybody's human, and all of these brands, whether it's Peterson, Savinelli, Dunhill, independent artisans, you know, you're talking about thousands and thousands, in some case, tens of thousands of pipes a year. 1 or 2 or 3 are definitely going to fall through the cracks and be sold when they shouldn't have. They should have been caught. The quality control should have stopped, whatever the issue was. But it does happen, and they do get out there. The problem is, even if somebody has purchased 20 Peterson pipes in their lifetime, and 2 or 3 of them have maybe been less than optimal or maybe didn't meet their standards, that's still an incredibly small sample size. So I encourage people to remember that like if you have one experience with a brand that's poor, maybe even 2 experiences with a brand that's poor, first of all, reach out to your retailer and let us try to make it right for you. And second of all, like keep in mind that that's 1 out of like many, many, many thousands of pipes that were produced that month that had an issue. The other thing that I want to encourage people to keep in sort of the front of their mind is that a lot of times the issues that we're talking about here that are real, that we do take responsibility for, are purely aesthetic. Purely aesthetic. I mean, sometimes that happens and it's unfortunate. And obviously in a perfect world, there would never be any aesthetic issues with anything that anybody produces. But again, blind taste test, if you put one of your old Petersons and one of your new Petersons, and maybe they were both somehow unsmoked, I would be shocked if anyone could be like, oh, this is better or this is worse. Because to be completely honest, production in pipes has not changed very much in a couple hundred years. The methods that they use, the materials that they use. The other dirty little secret is that nearly every producer uses the same sources for these materials. So to say that one brand is, you know, declining in quality and another one's rising in quality, they're getting like their stems from the same places. They're getting their briar from the same places. They use the same processes. Really, the difference is the design language between most pipes and how they will smoke is up to the individual. And sometimes you can get $1,000 pipe that you just got unlucky and that piece of wood doesn't taste that great, even though it was made perfectly or as close to perfect as possible. So the thing is it possible that there are examples since we took over Peterson where there has been a slight decline of some sort? Yes, but honestly, I see more Petersons than most people have ever seen or will ever see. And I was doing this before we owned the company. And I can honestly say that over the past, especially the past like 2 years, you've got a company full of people that actually smoke pipes, that love pipes, that have been all over the world in all of these factories and have seen a lot of stuff, that owns Peterson now. And I guarantee you that the easiest thing to do would be to cut corners and to just say, we don't care about the quality, get as many pipes out the door as possible. It's all about business. But I promise you that that's not how Loud DC works. That's not how smoking pipes works. And we've probably made things harder for ourselves than we needed to by trying to improve the quality instead of just sticking with what it was. And to be honest, like, this is the first time in probably 30 years that the people at Peterson smoke the products and love them and like care about the brand that much. And I mean, it's more to us than just another division of the company. And like I said, we've gone through a lot to try to make them better, improving the finishes, improving the sandblasting, diversifying the sourcing of the briar and the stems and everything else. And we've hired a lot of people that are experienced pipe makers to come in and work in the factory. We've brought in a lot of expert help because we have the connections in the industry to be able to do that. So I would say categorically that Peterson Pipe's declining since we took over. Whether you want to believe me or not, it's just not true. It's really not.
Ramachandran, this is the bane of almost every strong brand that changes over generations has the same problem. Coca-Cola has the same problem. Nike has the same problem. You know, every time that there's always going to be somebody who's like, the old way was better. The old product was better. It doesn't mean it. But that's also, in a very interesting way, that is a positive thing because it shows the loyalty to the brand itself.
Oh yeah,
and they'll like come around. You know, it's like some people love to have something to bitch about. I'm still smoking. I'm still buying new ones. I'm still like, but it's just like if I don't have something to complain about, I'm just not happy.
If I had to guess.
From my experience with the Peterson pipes, I would say maybe like 15 or 20 years ago, quality diminished, but it was mostly aesthetic, like finish not as good, shape got rougher than before. Though I don't think smoking quality was changed at all. But I would say about 5 years ago, actually just shortly before you took over, they started making good pipes again. I would say about like 5-6 years ago, among those mediocre pipes, which they still produce. But about 5-6 years ago, they started making more really good pipes again.
Yeah. And like I said, I was there for that, and I handled thousands of them, and I've been to the factory for many times in that period. And like I said, I mean, stuff goes up and down over the years. It's almost imperceivable for sure, but it doesn't take that many examples for people to sort of get that reputation going. You know what I mean? But honestly, my honest opinion, like I said, believe me or not, I am guessing that 10 years from now, people are going to say that from like 2020 to like 2025 was like a golden age for Peterson production. I'm sure that in a little while, people are going to look back on the PSBs that were just recently released, the Sandblasts, the Deluxe Classics that just came out, and say, this is when stuff started getting really good.
Yeah, like look at this one. This is from the new blasting cabinet. It's the Smoking Pipes 20th anniversary. I've never seen a sandblast like this on a production
out of a factory pipe. Nope, never.
Ever. I mean, it's amazing, and it's, you know, and I've had a couple other ones since then, and they're top notch. Plus, people, you know, they're not going to tell you about the 10 pipes that they got that were great. They're just going to bitch about the one pipe that they had an issue with. And it's like, come on.
And like I said, the main thing is that there are things that happen. And as long as you go back to your retailer and say, hey, you know, I wasn't satisfied with this, or I'm not sure if this is a problem, let us try to help you for sure before you go straight to the forum to say, hey, I got a Peterson and something's funky with it.
Also, I want to add that new sandblasting process at Peterson with the deeper blast, it's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's something even really old Peterson didn't have.
Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, Shane. I personally prefer new blasted and even heuristic pipes to smooth. So
really?
last 3 years, if I take a Peterson pipe, I prefer the new sandblasted.
I appreciate that.
It's really amazing.
And that's I'm glad you guys brought that up, because that's actually the perfect example. Like the new sandblasting system at Peterson, if we were just trying to make money and if it was just about business, we would never have done that. Because first of all, nobody really complained about the sandblast before, and it was a lot easier and a lot cheaper to do it the old way. It's a lot more difficult and a lot more time consuming to do it the right way. And that's the perfect example of like, why would we have made that decision if it wasn't just because we wanted to improve things?
No. And another interesting thing. I'm sorry, Ramachandran. Another interesting thing. I have a famous, for me, personal shape like 69. And I have a dozen of pipes, Peterson 69. I can tell that last 3 or 4 years pipe I bought are lighter than older ones. So the briar quality is increased too, I suppose.
Well, that's basically just the difference between using fresher briar and not fresher briar. I mean, briar doesn't have to be cured for 30 years to be good, but you can tell the difference in just a few months, just a few years when you're holding 2 blocks of the same size from the same source, and you can feel when one is still wet and when it's been dried adequately.
Yeah,
so,
I had chance to see and to touch Peterson pipes from pre-World War I, 19th century Peterson pipes. One friend of mine, he has amazing collection of old pipes. He has a lot of old Petersons. Those are incredible, and those are so light. But it's not because they were made this way. That's because they're so old. And
that's true too.
briar keeps curing even when it's already in the shape of the pipe.
Yep.
So, Shane, the point I'm trying to underscore here is, I mean, personally, I got no issues on Petersons. As I said, I got almost about 15, 20 Petersons. I'll be acquiring more. But after going through these kind of reports, there's a small doubt, that starts coming in the mind. Should I be again spending another $100, $150 again to acquire another one when we are hearing so much? So I think the company needs to do something about it to come out. Like today you clarified, since I'm hearing it from you, now I'm at peace. No, it can't go wrong, which I am sure, going by the reputation of the company. But nevertheless, there are people who may get this kind of doubt. And, you need to assuage their
Absolutely. And I think part of that is us just being open and honest in situations like this where the question comes up. Part of it is demonstrating the things that we're trying to do to make them better, the finishes, the sandblasting, new series, bringing back old shapes, trying to do really fun and interesting things. Like that, I hope that demonstrates it a little bit as well. And yeah, when travel opens back up and we're able to start maybe showing off and highlighting either in articles or videos, like some of the changes that have been made, that's part of it. But I think the main thing too is, I just encourage, like I said, anybody out there that has an issue, go back to Smoking Pipes, go back to whoever you got your pipe from, and see if they can help you, because Peterson and Laudisi and really most of the retailers in the world stand by everything that we sell. And if we have a chance to make it right, chances are you're going to leave feeling like you were treated well and fairly, and that you did get a replacement or a repair or whatever you needed to make you happy. But I will also say too, and this is just an unfortunate truth that happens in, like I said, all kinds of industries. There are also cases where, I look at nearly every single pipe that comes back to Smoking Pipes as a return. And there are cases where, you just lit this thing with a torch and you burned a hole through it. And that has nothing to do with the quality at any of these factories, So there is always going to be a handful of people that unfortunately just abuse their pipes and feel like that is somehow like a defect of the production. And it happens to every brand and every maker. And yeah, it's going to be impossible for there to be 100% satisfaction. But we strive for it for sure.
Shane, I know that you guys have the setup to do a lot of these exposures and behind the scenes kinds of stuff. That's why you've got All Pipes Considered and the tours that you do in the factories when you're traveling. We'd love to also be someplace where you could come, because now we have a pretty good audience, across know, thousands of people every week watching the replays of the Pipe Club meetings. So I'd love to chat with you about that when you start getting some of those things in. Let's bring them on to the meeting and showcase them. That would be really wonderful.
Yeah. I see no reason why we couldn't, do like a tour of Cornell and Deal on one of these meetings one of these days. Or if I'm in Denmark and I'm at McBaron, like, why not sign on for a little bit and say, let Per Jensen show us around and show us some production stuff. Yeah, I really think too that I'm personally trying to spend a lot more time and like bringing folks with me to help make this happen, like documenting a lot of this stuff and being able to say, now that video is so much better and it's so much easier to do all this on the fly, like it would be really nice to get some of the history straight from the horse's mouth and see some of the production. in a really like thorough and detailed way instead of like a little snippet that was edited together, which are cool too. But yeah, it's something that I've struggled with forever because it's kind of like a time constraint thing as well. But when I started traveling to all these places, I had been a smoker and a collector and an enthusiast for so many years already that it was incredible. It was amazing to see all of it in person. And I would love to really be able to like share more of that for sure. And we're trying to figure out ways to make that happen.
Yeah, like there's things like I've watched Father the Flame, I don't know, 100 times. Anything on YouTube that was like, you know, anything with Tom in his workshop or any former, there's stuff with I guess Ken Dietrichs or some of the other carver or Rasmussen, you know, they have, and it's like people just eat it up because there's not enough of it out there. It's like I would love for anything to be put out.
Yeah.
David, I would like to just add one thing. You know, I've bought and sold, I don't know how many pipes. I've got pipes that I've bought for $5. That's better than some of my pipes that I paid hundreds to thousands of dollars. So that consistency, you know, I can't really speak to Peterson. Most of mine are estates. I prefer, I inherited some pipes from my grandfather, old Petersons. And I also have some of the newer Petersons. It's really hard for me to kind of distinguish a change in the quality, maybe the density of the briar. But again, I've got a Dr. Grabeau that I think it's the greatest pipe I've ever had. I think I got it for $3. But I've also got an unnamed brand that I won't mention. I paid top dollar for it, and it smokes like shit. So there's no consistency. It's not always the brand. It could be that particular pipe. I asked the question about pairing. Sometimes pairing pipes to certain tobaccos. Just some tobaccos don't burn well in maybe a narrow chamber. Or there's a lot of variables to kind of try.
And that's the problem. That's the problem. There's a lot of variables. Your mileage may vary. We're talking about pieces of wood that come out of the ground. I mean, one hillside versus another hillside. There's just so many factors. And a pipe can be made extremely well and be either mediocre or terrible. It's luck of the draw at a certain point. But like I said, keep in mind that when you hear about a pipe that smokes terribly, there's like 100,000 others that nobody's complaining about.
Shane, I want to move us into
your personal smoking style, your smoking habit. Sometimes one pipe for one person, it doesn't smoke well, no matter what he does, what kind of tobacco he uses, how he packs it. He gives it or sells it to another person, and
they love it.
Best pipes he ever had. It's just right for that person.
Yeah,
Shane,
absolutely.
let me ask you one more question, because I don't know how we do it, but we burn up, the entire meeting, which I think has been wonderful. This has been the longer we've had the club maturing, the more interaction and conversations that we get without really stumbling over each other. So this has been a great series of questions with you guys. Rather than getting into some of the topic that we had talked about, like packing the pipe and all that kind of stuff, can you give us a little on what I did on my summer vacation about your recent trip to Europe and sort of tell us a little bit about what's going on there? I know you mentioned a few things about it, but maybe you could fill it in a little bit.
Yeah, sure. And like I said, if anybody is interested in talking about technique, we can just come back and do that again. Like David Dorian mentioned, we have something planned for spooky season, so that'll be interesting for sure. But I'm also happy to just do some freeform question answering since it's been a while since I've been on too. But regarding the Denmark trip, more or less, I think everybody's probably aware that coronavirus cases in the United States have not exactly been declining. Things have been, spiking in certain areas again. And I just started to feel like, maybe I should just throw together a quick trip in case we get to a point where travel is restricted again or any of that kind of stuff. So Sykes Wilford, our owner and founder, our plan between the two of us was that he would go to Italy and I would go to Denmark, and we'd get a little, like, as much coverage as possible in a real quick period. And then if nothing changes travel-wise, we'll go back to Europe again later in the fall, because normally we're there between the two of us, 6, 7, 8 times a year, So I went to Denmark, and because it was a quick trip, I basically just stuck around the Copenhagen area, which is where most of the pipe makers are. So typically I'll be there for like 2 weeks, and I'll travel the entire country and meet with as many people as I possibly can. But this time I stuck around Copenhagen, and I met with, spent a lot of time in Tom Elting's workshop, which is par for the course. Whenever I'm in Denmark, I spend nearly every evening at Tom's. I usually try to keep a hotel very close to him so that he can sort of be my home base. We went to visit Paul Winslow. We went to visit Jes Konovits, former Lasse Skovgaard, Peter Jeppesen, the Neerup workshop, Peter Heating, which is pretty close to Neerup in Roskilde, that area. Nording, which actually was a lot of fun. It was the first time I visited the Nording compound, actually. We buy Nording through a distributor in the US, as does everybody. But we're trying to work on a special project just for smokingpipes.com, exclusive to smokingpipes.com. So it gave me an opportunity to go visit their factory, even though I've met the Nording family many times at trade shows and in Denmark and Copenhagen for the Smoking Championship. So it was really cool to see that. His production facility is super impressive. Really, really cool setup. He has the house in the front of the I'm calling it a compound officially. He has his house in the front of the compound and like a big club room with all his hunting trophies hung up. And then in the back, there's, sort of like the finishing area and the sanding and the shaping and where they do the accent work and stuff like that. Then you go down into the basement and they have like the lathes and the big machinery for turning the shapes and like all the briar storage and all the stem storage. It's really, really remarkable. And they run with a pretty lean crew of people too. Not very many people producing those pipes. And it's really remarkable. And Eric himself has said that he's not a pipe maker, he's an engineer. And you can definitely see that in the production facility. A lot of really clever stuff. Probably somewhere between Costello and Peterson in terms of scale. And it was really fun to see that. And also those guys are a blast to hang out with. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I always visit the Danish Pipe Shop when I'm there and meet with Nikolai and just catch up on a few things and do some shopping for myself and hang out and smoke. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, it was really good. Everybody over there is doing good. Europe in general seems to be on the mend from the pandemic. Production has increased in a lot of places. Like I said, supply is a problem for some people, briar and acrylic and vulcanite and all that. But mostly everybody is back into the full swing of things by now, really optimistic, focusing on new projects. There's a little bit of reinvigoration after what I think was a really like sort of a stale year for all of us, not being able to travel anywhere. The other thing too is the Europeans, just like us, we have these big events every year, like the Chicago Pipe Show and the IPCPR/RTDA/PCA trade show. And without that stuff happening in 2020 and really in early 2021 as well, a lot of these guys didn't really have the sort of like hard deadlines that they normally had, or, reasons to like come and think of new series and new production and all that stuff. So there was some constraints production wise, and also just not a lot happening globally in the community, which we really rely on to drive a lot of the, new product development and that kind of stuff. But like I said, everybody's in high spirits. Everybody's working away. Even the older guys still cranking, which is amazing. Former is going to be 80 next month. Eric Nording is, I think, 82. And like I said, these guys have just been doing it for so long that it's like second nature to them. But I'm excited to get back out there. I'm excited to be back in Dublin again, back in Italy again. And I think that as soon as we know that it's safe to continue to do that, I probably have quite a bit of travel on my plate in the coming months for sure.
Anything surprising? Anything, everybody wants to know about something new that might be coming our way. But in the midst of all of the slowdown during the pandemic, did anybody come up with something new that they're going to come out with now in 2021, 22, something like that?
Well, I mean, like I said, we do have some tobacco stuff coming very shortly, which is going to be really interesting and really fun. On the pipe side of things, we were talking earlier about the pencil shank bamboos that Tom Elting's been making. That's only been really recently in the last couple of weeks. He's also working on a handful of really interesting projects for us. We have a 2-pipe set coming from Tom that'll be available on Smoking Pipes pretty soon. That was actually carved from the same block of wood, 2 snail grade pipes. I mentioned the Near Up Harvest Moon series, which is really exciting. I can't say a lot about it yet, but I'm pretty sure that everybody will notice when we do work out the details of our collaboration with the Nording family for Smoking Pipes' exclusive pipe. I can't share the details yet, even though I'd really love to, but that's going to be exciting. I'm trying to think if there was anything else really new. It's also difficult for me at this point to remember what were projects that happened before the pandemic that were kind of put on hold and what stuff that's actually happening right now. Because there was a lot of stuff up in the air before the pandemic that just had to be paused. A lot of really interesting stuff coming out of the Dunhill factory. For Smoking Pipes, we just put up some of those yesterday, actually. And there's the Dunhill section on smokingpipes.com is going to be incredible, full of stuff you've never seen before for the next couple weeks. We're also bringing back a handful of projects that we've done with Dunhill previously in reimagining what those look like. I don't know if you guys remember the 2-pipe sets that we did for the 20th anniversary last year. We're bringing back that idea and just putting a different twist on it, which is really exciting. Yeah, I don't know. There's kind of a lot. If I was more prepared, I could have written up a list of a bunch of stuff, but there's kind of a lot up in the air right now because, like I said, nobody was really working on new projects for like a year. So there's a lot happening right now, and it's going to be an exciting 12 months following this for sure.
Two
That's
quick
going to
questions,
be
Shane.
awesome.
The
All right.
first-
We are not yet, so don't go running off, but we are nearing the time when I hit the time bell. And so don't go away because right before we do that, I want to give you guys a heads up on the next couple of weeks and our special guests that are coming, and talk for just a second about Shane coming back so that you can mark your calendars and maybe 2 words, Shane, about Richmond, because you're going to be there too, aren't you?
Yes, we are going to be there. Smokingpipes.com, Cornell and Deal and Laudisi will be at the Richmond Pipe Show. I'll be there personally, and I'm bringing a handful of my customer service guys with me. We're really looking for, if anybody went to the Richmond show in 2019, you know that it's at the Sutliff factory now, which is amazing. Really cool setup for a pipe show in a cool area that's close to a bunch of good food and a bunch of good beer, if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah, we're excited to get back out there and to see everybody in person and smoke a bowl. It's been way too long. It's been way too long.
Yeah, Shane and I are going to do a weekend-long experiment about pairing certain beers with different.
Yes. Well, I did miss the Danish beer, so I definitely did a lot of that last week too.
All right.
2 quick questions.
Last minute questions, thoughts, comments, sharings with Shane while we're here. Mike, I know you got something going.
I always wondered what Laudisi stood for and how Sykes came up with that. If that's something you can divulge. And then
So I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
And then the other thing was I don't know if you know, but I mean, I had gotten the Moonshine Pipe of the Year. It's like the Shalasky.
Yes, the stack.
And I got it. There was a manufacturing. It was a crack in it. I sent it back. There hasn't been any more on site. I haven't seen them anywhere. So I don't know if you know if they're going to make another run of them or if there's any more that would be available down the road.
So yes, they are. I actually just spoke to Pete Prevost yesterday about a handful of things that are in the works right now. And we are going to do one more because that was exclusive to the Briar Workshop in Columbia, Tennessee and smokingpipes.com. So we are going to do one more run of that shape before the end of the year because they would have made a couple more in the first place if it wasn't for like production issues. So you will be able to see those again. But you know what, man? I don't know if you like follow me on Instagram, if you want to send me a message, or even if you email me, it's like shane.ireland@smokingpipes, pretty easy. Let me know which finish you're looking for, and I'll try to give you a heads up or pull one aside.
Awesome. Yeah. And then what's Laudisi? Where's that name come from?
So, yeah, I have to look it up because I can never remember exactly which play it is. But essentially, it is a character from an Italian play. And Sykes just liked the name, liked the character, liked the play, and picked that for the name of the company. But back then, he was pretty much just picking a name for the LLC, and smokingpipes.com was the business. And then as it grew, logically, we kept using the Loud DC name when we became a distribution group, when we took over Cornell and Deal, took over Peterson. So I think that as a younger man, he probably didn't expect to have the Loud DC name be really the umbrella for the whole pipe empire that he's built. But yeah, it is a character from Italian Play, and I cannot remember the name at the moment.
Good enough.
Dennis, go ahead, brother.
I just wanted to say that Shane and company, I was in North Myrtle Beach about 2 or 3 years ago prior to COVID-19. And, that's my wife's favorite place, and I don't mind fishing. But more importantly, smokingpipes.com and Cornell and Deal are just up the road. So I shot them an email, and nobody was available at C&D, but you ought to see the smoking pipe setup in there. I mean, it's very simple on the outside, but once you get in there, holy cow, you talk about organization. Because I used to do, pick up stuff, distribute it, and send it out. That is a pretty gorgeous operation. I don't know if, let's put it this way, Shane. Yeah, if you want, talk to DDR and you ought to show people how you guys got that lovely place set up. It's great.
Actually, that's a really good idea. I appreciate that, Dennis. One of these days we should do that, where I'll go to the office, even if it's a Saturday, no big deal. And I can show you guys around the warehouse and kind of how some of the technology works and the photo lab and all that stuff. That'd be a lot of fun.
You heard it here
I usually give
first, folks.
I usually give a lot of tours in person before the pandemic. I've done a lot of tours in person, but it didn't occur to me to do one virtually.
Justin, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Well, I haven't really been keeping up too much with the news and stuff, but there were a lot of rumors about what's going on with Gowith and Hogarth and the English tobaccos. I was wondering if you had any kind of insight into that.
So I'll keep it super, super brief, just because I know we're on a time crunch here. There was a person who I will not name that started that rumor by emailing his customer list and claiming that Gayworth and Hogarth were in some sort of financial trouble, or that they were going out of business because of regulatory stuff. And I actually I was in Denmark when this happened, and it was like, the early evening over there and then early morning in the US. And I had about 12 people message me in like the course of 20 minutes about this thing. And I was like, okay, first of all, I spoke to Chris Gayworth like not that long ago. We're in touch with him so regularly. We have orders in right now. I knew it was not true. So I immediately just said, hey, like I am 99.9% that there's nothing to this rumor. And then I had spoken at length with a couple of people about it, so that they could kind of like fill in their friends or whatever. And then not terribly long after that, Chris Gayworth issued a statement on social media. So if you go to Gayworth and Hogarth's Instagram account, you'll see the statement last week, or maybe it was the week before, where he just says there's nothing to this. It's totally untrue. Even if there was an issue in the UK with tobacco, there's enough business in the US and in China for the Gayworth and Hogarth companies to like never, ever, ever have any problems. It's just totally made up. Somebody was trying to sell some tobacco that they had. I mean, I don't know, but there's no truth to it at all. They're very healthy. In fact, the biggest problem that the Gayworth brands have is not being able to meet demand. And that's not the kind of problem that leads to shutting down.
Alvin, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, yeah, Shane. I just wanted to do a shout out to your staff. They really are great to work with. And I wanted to also tell you, keep those profiles you do of famous pipe smokers. I enjoy those stories.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will pass that along to the staff too. Trust me, they love to hear when people are happy with the service that they received, for sure. It's what we care about. It's like the number one thing.
Just in the last couple of minutes, I just saw Tim Garrity made a little comment that Chicago Pipe Show has some good news. Tim, what is it? Tell us.
Well, can't release the news yet. We've been working really hard. We'll have some good news coming pretty soon. We'll release it to everybody once it is official. But things are looking very good on our end.
Excellent.
So,
man, I thought we were friends. You have to let us scoop this,
Well, there'll be scoops, I'm sure, because we have, We have no availability of confidentiality. So once it's released, once we've finalized our plans, it's just a really, I think many people are going to be pleased with the news that's going to be coming out. So
excellent.
All right, we'll wait for it. All right, last couple of things. Number one is in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to get in touch with Kevin and apologize profusely about whatever happened. But next week, the 18th, we are on schedule to have a virtual tour of Iwan Reese up in Chicago area and see the whole what's in the back end and what's behind the stairs and all that kind of stuff, which is always so much fun.
It's the paradise of all things pipe.
It is the paradise of all things pipe. I'm smiling only because I believe it. I believe that that's true. And it is what we've heard from every single virtual tour that we've had. Because I think that that's true there too. It's like Paul's Pipe Shop. It's literally, they have 1 million pipes in that shop. But every B&M is different. And they all have their own ghosts coming out of the woodwork.
Well, Chicago had a meeting up there in July. It was just, all I can say is Chuck having really rolled out the red carpet for us. It was just an incredible meeting. Probably one of the best meetings don't want to boast, but maybe we've ever had. You can't really wrap your head around Iwan Reese until you're there.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, we're really looking forward to that. We have been for a while. And then the last thing that is happening this month is Scotty Pearsall will be our guest on talking about pencil shanks.
Amazing.
We're gonna have Scotty Pearsall on the show for the 30th. I guess that's the date there. Shane, you're my best friend ever. Just telling you.
Thank you guys. Thanks, you guys.
Shane.
It's a blast as always.
Great.
I'm sure it won't be the last
Thanks,
time.
Shane.
I'm sure it won't be.
Thank you, Shane.
Well, it is that time for me to ring the bell and say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And as always, I make the blanket statement that I'm not saying anything political because we avoid that in the Virtual Pipe Club, but I don't care what your method is. Wear the mask, get the vaccine, wash your hands, stay locked up in the basement, whatever. Please
Just be safe.
Just be safe. We love you and want to see you back next week. That's all.
Cheers, everybody.
See
y'all next time.
Cheers.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Guys, have a great weekend.
Great meeting. Bye, y'all.
Hey, go.
Have a great day.
See you next week.
Good to join again.
Thanks a lot.
See you next week.
See you next week, guys.
All right.
Take care.